survey by the Water NGO has identified the heavy invasion of the country's rivers by illegal miners as a major factor for this trend. The survey is, however, warning of a crisis in the next decade if the continuous pollution of water sources are not immediately stopped. We can listen to David Duncan, who leads the survey.
Currently, Ghana lacks adequate wastewater treatment systems, and the majority of households in Ghana and communities lack basic sanitation facilities. Globally, an estimated 1.8 million people use a source of drinking water which is contaminated by feces, putting them at risk of cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and polio. Unsafe water, poor sanitation and hygiene causes over 800,000 deaths every year. In Ghana, 3 out of 5 people, 3 out of every 5 Ghanaians, drink water which is contaminated with feces, risking diseases such as diarrhea and cholera. Simple diarrhea causes the deaths of over 3,600 children in Ghana every single year. And we have far too frequent outbreaks of cholera in our cities. We know the importance of treating our water before we drink it, but we need to focus more on treating it after we use it and before we dispose of it. Despite recent developments, positive developments, the majority of Ghana's household wastewater continues to be discharged untreated, much of it polluting our rivers, our groundwater and our coastal waters. But with these challenges, we also have opportunities. The costs associated with wastewater management are greatly outweighed by the benefits.
All right, let's do some analysis now. And joining me on the phone is Nana Jumo Sapon. And also via Skype is Eric Banye. I'll be speaking with these two gentlemen. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, let me start with Nana Jumo. How do you feel about the findings that 3 out of every 5 Ghanaians are drinking water that is contaminated with feces?
I think based on what is going on in the country, that people just defecate in a plastic rubber and call it a tuomosun and put it in rivers, and people directing the manhole into drains and rivers. And when it rains, you see these guts overflowing. It is likely, and then where pipes, sometimes you see that some pipes are passing through this drain. It is likely that it's people who drink water with this fish. But as to the percentage, if we want to compare, there's another statistic which came last year indicating that when we talk about open defecation, Ghana is second. Okay, so if we are openly defecating and some of the pipes are not well taken care of, it is likely that the fishes will go. Even the world record is indicating that about 1.8 billion people have proper, and they are.
All right, Nana Jumo.
So it is possible that will happen.
Let me have you hold for a second and speak with Eric Banye. He's the programs coordinator for Change for. Voice for Change is a water NGO. Eric joins me via Skype. Eric, water wastage or wasting of water is one of the reasons we're facing challenges with our water in Ghana right now. Let's talk about the theme for the celebration, for the World Water Day celebration. It's talking about water and water wastage. How does this come across to you? Hello, Eric. Yes, Eric, you are on today's big story. I'm saying that I'm asking you about this year's theme for the Water Day celebration, which says that water and waste water. That's the theme, and I'm asking how that comes across to you, because we know one of the reasons we're facing challenges with our water is we, the individuals, wasting a lot of water in the system.
Thank you very much, Aisha, and then good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. I think the theme for this particular year, World Water Day, absolutely describes the situation that we are currently facing in terms of water availability and its usage. The theme basically is trying to really draw the attention of everybody in the world to see the need to conserve water, particularly that increasingly we are beginning to run shortage of water in most parts of the world, and in Ghana in particular. We are putting so much stress on the current limited water that we have. And I think that the theme which describes the day concerning wastewater basically tries to echo on the fact that we need some attention to be placed on conserving the already limited water that we have, and the fact that most people in the world over, particularly in Ghana, are running increasingly short of water every day. So to see the theme that they have used, it also describes very well about issues of potable water and then wastewater as well, which goes again to address the issue of sanitation. Increasingly beyond the waste sanitation that we are also having, providing water, making water to be available also means that you will have a lot of liquid waste also that you have to manage. And therefore, you only don't need to provide the water, but also look at how you are going to manage the waste as well. So I think the thing describes the situation that we are facing very well, and it at least will draw the attention of most duty bearers and stakeholders to the need to not only provide water, but also to ensure that we manage it properly.
All right, Eric, let me have you hold also and come back to Nana Juma. Of course, after talking about wastage, we also know that the heavy invasion of the country's rivers and water bodies by illegal miners is also one of the reasons or the major reasons we're facing this challenge. Now, Nana, from where you sit, what do you think has accounted for this invasion?
You see, when you don't enforce law, the only thing that separates us from the other lives is that we, as human beings, we make laws and enforce them. If you look at Ghana law enforcement, I think we are not doing well at all, because there are so many laws concerning the environment and how we should protect it, and land uses and the policies, but we are not enforcing them. If a place is not for mining, nobody is supposed to mine there. And if somebody is mining, we can't blame the illegal miners, but we blame the system which is enforcing its laws. And I was surprised to hear that somebody is saying that we will import water, when the world is saying that water is going to be in short supply. And when the world population hit 9 billion, be enough water to drink and to use and to farm and to do other activities. I hear somebody saying that we can import water. Why are we going to import water? Instead of those people enforcing their laws, the EPA people, is the environment not part of the environmental principle? They are saying we should import water. Why are we going to import it? If the weather has come to a point and we are saying that even your wastewater, when you wash your hands, we should make sure that we have sewage system that we can direct there and reuse it, and then make sure we water our garden and wash our cars with it. That means water has become, the issue has become so critical to the point that when you use water, you have to use it again. That is what we are saying. And we are saying that when you are bathing, don't use too much water when even you are using the soap on the sponge on your body.
And when you are flushing your toilet,
you are washing your hands, use it well. So we don't want to enforce the laws. So everybody is blaming a galamsey. My question is that, are there no laws in this country? Does the laws allow them to do what they are doing? And if not, whose duty is supposed to do that? We have all the governmental agents who are supposed to enforce the laws in their status book who are not doing it. And then everybody tend to blame game. I think the problem and the situation, why? In white voter, it's like chalk. People are mining there. Blackwater, they are mining there. Oti Daka, they are mining there. Tano, they are mining there. Brim, they are mining there.
So who should we blame for this condition we find ourselves in?
The condition must be put at the doorstep of those agencies who are supposed to do it. I'm not going to talk about governmental agencies. They are supposed to do their work. And if they don't do it, we will continue to talk about this and blame this and blame this. It's not a blame. We have to tell them, if the kitchen is too hot for them, they should get out, because you are paid to do some job. You are not paid to complain. Everybody is talking. We as NGOs can tell you that this is the situation. And when they hear it, they are law enforcement agents. They should go enforce. Too much of blaming innocent people. If you have a stick and a snake is coming to bite you, and you don't take the stick and hit it, it will bite you. So I'm saying that the situation has gotten to this level because we don't enforce our law, and everybody is complaining. Now, His Selassie said something. He said, throughout history, it has been the inaction of those who should have taken action, then the inactivity of those who should have acted when it matters most, that has made evil to triumph. That is the case of Ghana. People who are supposed to take action will not take action.
Are not taking
those who
the
are supposed
action.
to act, they don't want to act. That is where we are today.
But certainly, this is not healthy for us. We just need to deal with this and move on. Nana, let me speak with Eric Banye and ask you, water wastage, despite the shortages we continue to have in our system, doesn't look like it will go away anytime soon, especially if you look at the lifestyles of people. I mean, what do you recommend as solution to this problem?
Yeah, thank you very much. As I tried perfectly well with Nana on the other side, purely from a policy perspective, there are sufficient laws to guide water usage in this country. But we are not just doing exactly what is supposed to be done. Now, it now comes to the issue of behavioral patterns. Individually, what can people do to ensure that we reduce the water usage? Nana mentioned the issue of people carelessly using water. Yes, you see, as long as people feel water is available in their houses, they will waste it, they will use it. And the more you use, the more you generate wastewater. How do we manage this particular wastewater? In some rural areas or in some other countries, what people do is to rather use wastewater to be able to even use it for their own backyard gardening. We should be able to reuse the water that we are using at home. Increasingly, worldwide, water is becoming a problem. I don't know who said we are going to import water, but let's rule that out. If we run into difficulties of having access to water, everybody in this country will perish.
Definitely.
And that's why we need to pay very close attention to not just providing water, but also looking at how people are really using the water. I see several places where either pipelines are broken, water flows there for over 24 hours, people are seeing it, nobody seems to care about it. Yet people are having the responsibility and the mandate in this country to be in charge. Why will that happen? Poor enforcement of laws. And secondly, the issue of coordination. You see, if you have very beautiful laws, regulations, policies, and you do not have an institution that will coordinate all these regulations, you run into the problem that we are having now. Everybody sees it, oh, this is not my issue, it is not my mandate, then they walk past. The next particular institution comes to see it is not my mandate, they walk past. And large of water is being wasted, not just only at the household, but even the distribution line. Now, coming to household level, what can people do with wastewater? If you recognize the fact that increasingly there is water stress, and if you recognize the fact that without water, your household, virtually everything in your household will come to zero, you begin to appreciate the need to conserve water even at the household level. For in some suburbs of Accra or within this country, water is not flowing for like 3 days. You see how people suffer? You cannot cook, you cannot bath, virtually you have everything running to your house at your household level. So what I think we can do as a nation is first, as Nana mentioned, we must ensure that laws, regulations, policies are working. People who are responsible for these things are ensuring that they are functioning. Now, at the household level, people must recognize that water is very expensive. If you have a borehole behind your house and you go to fetch the water, you don't recognize that it's really expensive. Put the borehole off, let it get full, for about 1 week, and you see the need for you to conserve water. So for me, I think going forward as a government organization in the water sector, we need we need a behavioral change in how we use water and manage water. And secondly, I think from the policy perspective, policymakers must ensure that they are doing exactly what they are mandated to do. I had another mention issue about the several dams, several rivers being polluted also due to poor mining. Who are these people mining? Are people not aware that they are mining?
Right.
Are people not aware that the mine is putting a lot of pressure on the water that we are having? People are definitely aware. Who is responsible? Who is doing the talking? These are the things, the questions we need to ask. But of course, we can't be asking questions all the time.
Right.
We need to ensure that the institutions are working. We need to ensure that households, in fact, pay dearly for misuse of water as well.
Right.
For me, I know everybody has a right to access to water, improve water, but quality, safe water.
Quality water.
As much, yes, quality water. As government is doing everything possible to provide water to households, households must be responsible in managing the waste that they are causing at their various houses.
Right.
Why will somebody bath with 5 buckets of water?
It's
Because your shower is flowing?
unthinkable.
No. So you see, sometimes from those who deal with this provision of water, you need to also assess the distribution channels at the household level.
Right.
The type of pipes people are using, type of showers people are using. Can you put in pressure such that you just use a little water with pressure that you can bath with without necessarily opening up your whole pipe, stand in it, have a good bath for several minutes, and you waste water. And whatever you are bathing is going out. Where is it going? Nobody seems to be asking that kind of question.
So I think that we as individuals must also put ourselves in the shoes of government. As government does its part, we must also put ourselves in there and make sure that it is a collective responsibility and not just one-sided. Well, many thanks to you. Eric Banye is a programs coordinator for water NGO Voice for Change. Back to you, Nana. Of course, I think we find ourselves at a crossroad, especially when we're being warned that there will be crisis if the pollution in our water bodies and rivers do not stop. Now, I mean, the question now remains, how do we do it? How do we deal with this monster? Hello, Nana. Hello, Nana, you're still on today's big story. All right, I think we lost Nana on the phone. We'll try and get him back on today's big story. But let's listen to members of parliament who have also been lamenting over lack of potable water for their constituents.
Contrary to the belief of a lot of people, water cannot be considered as an infinite resource. And indeed, if you were to look at the research that has been done within Ghana, only about 7% of wastewater is retreated. And therefore, I think that the statement, and for that matter, the theme for this year couldn't have been more appropriate. But Mr. Speaker, it is important to also note that whilst we talk about wastewater, we need to know that statistics available seem to alarm us as a country. Worldwide, it is said that about 1.8 billion people are exposed to drinking water that is contaminated with fecal matter. That has an effect in terms of causing diseases like polio, dysentery, cholera, and what have you. Indeed, if you look at the level of contamination, looking at the various activities, human activities like galamsey and what have you, it tells you very clearly that we are living at a time when things are very dangerous when it comes to issues of potable drinking water.
Mr. Speaker, galamsey operation is affecting water supply to the country. It's affecting our water bodies in a very serious and threatening manner. that we have to take up very seriously. And I will entreat all of us to make it our business and our responsibility to engage in our communities to look at this scared, because water bodies are being polluted through our own activities and our own practices. And I understand that a lot of people who otherwise should have been more responsible in addressing this matter are part of the whole processes. Water bodies, especially around some corners in the eastern region, are so polluted, and when even the Ghana Water Company tries to treat the water, they are unable to treat it. And the poor women have to fetch this, we don't know whether it's mud or water, fetch it home and try to treat it to the best way possible. It adds on to the suffering of women. We are not able to get adequate water, and we are not able to provide portable water to our communities. The emphasis is portable water, not just water. Portable water, quality water, so that our communities our households will have good water. So, Mr. Speaker, my emphasis is on our own activities, the activities that we do that pollute our water bodies. And members of this honorable House can take on this challenge in our communities, engage with people, educate them on better practices. And of course, the Galamsey processes, we should engage them and ensure that they stop polluting our water bodies.
All right, let's do more analysis. And joining me on the phone is Dr. Linda Van Otto, who is the Greater Accra Regional Director at the Ghana Health Service. Good evening to you, Doc. Many thanks for your time on today's big story.
Good evening, Asa.
Doc, 3 out of every 5 Ghanaians are said to be drinking water contaminated with feces. That's worrying, and it's according to the Ghana Living Standards Survey. What does this mean to our health, Doc?
Well, good evening to all the listeners. It's a very worrisome condition, if this is what has been found, because feces, as we know, is the way that the body gets rid of what it doesn't need. And it's also something that contains germs or bacteria and other organisms that can cause disease. So if we are drinking water that has feces in it, then everyone needs to be concerned, especially, as you said, with the statistics that are available. So it's something that we should worry about.
So what do we do?
Yeah, I think people have to understand what it can do to their health. First of all, we have diseases, some of them very common that people know, like cholera. And Greater Accra region a few years back had the unpleasant experience. So many people having cholera and some of them dying. And if you were living in a home with someone who was well and just within a short time lost his or her life because of this, then you know what we are talking about. And the feces get into the water because of our own activities, some of the things that we do. We have a lot of people who defecate around. So when it rains, the water washes the feces into
the rivers.
Yes. And some even go to the extent of defecating into the river body.
Right.
Others defecate into plastic bags and then throw them into the water body.
Interesting.
And people fetch this or they pass through the tap and people ingest it. It is important because we can also have other diseases because we drink water that has feces in it. And some of them are viral. Viral diseases cannot be treated easily, like we can treat a disease that is caused by bacteria.
Right.
So it is important. Some of them even affect the liver, and that is key. Some of them may be worms. Some of them may be other organisms that will affect different parts of the body.
And that's exactly the reason why individuals should be concerned and also control some of the activities that pollute our water bodies.
And it can be done.
It's not like it's possible. It's not impossible. Well, many thanks to Dr. Linda Van Otu, is Accra Region Health Director, Ghana Health Service. All right, so let's go back to Parliament and listen to members of Parliament complaining about the lack of potable water for their constituent.
I want to come to my constituency, Adenta constituency, where honorable members on the other side drummed into Ghana's ears that we had water. Mr. Speaker, as I speak, I still don't have water in my house. Many people in Adenta don't have water. Many people in Adenta don't have water. I want to urge the Honorable Minister to support Adenta constituency through their local office to distribute the water that appears to have arrived there but in bulk, to enable residents be able to access the water through channels that will go through the streets in front of their homes.
All right, this is today's big story. We've been talking about the pollution of our water bodies that is causing people to get sick. And of course, the research is predicting that 3 out of 5 people are said to be drinking water that is contaminated with feces. And all the experts are warning that it is time individuals take these issues serious and also do something to help resolve the situation. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Have a good evening.